Hello and welcome to the channel. Organized labor has called off its supposed strike action, which was set to commence tomorrow, Wednesday, June 7, 2023, as a result of the government's removal of fuel subsidy. Negotiations with the government will continue, but the planned strike will not. Details next. Subscribe, like, share, and comment. Thank you. NLC TUC suspend strike. The organized labor made up of the Nigeria Labour Congress NLC and the Trade Union Congress of Nigeria TUC yesterday agreed to suspend its planned strike scheduled to begin tomorrow to enable further negotiations with the federal government. This was part of the resolutions reached at the end of the meeting late yesterday evening. Monday's meeting and resolution were attended and signed by Mr. Femi Gbajabiamila, Chief of Staff to the President, Festus Osifo, President TUC, Nuhu Toro, Secretary General TUC, Joseph Ajairo, President NLC, Emmanuel Ogboaja, General Secretary NLC, and Mrs. Kasholom S. Daju, Permanent Secretary, Federal Ministry of Labor and Employment. Other resolutions arrived at the meeting include continued engagement by the TUC and the NLC with the federal government and secure closure on the resolutions above. The labor centers and the federal government are to meet on June 19, 2023 to agree on an implementation framework. According to the negotiating committee, the federal government, the TUC and the NLC are to establish a joint committee to review the proposal for any wage increase or award and establish a framework and timeline for implementation. The federal government, the TUC and the NLC to review the World Bank financed cash transfer scheme and propose the inclusion of low-income earners in the program. The federal government, the TUC and the NLC to revive the CNG conversion program earlier agreed with labor centers in 2021 and work out detailed implementation on timing. The labor centers and the federal government to review issues hindering effective delivery in the education sector and propose solutions for implementation. The labor centers and the federal government to review and establish the framework for the completion of the rehabilitation of the nation's refineries. The federal government to provide a framework for the maintenance of roads and expansion of rail networks across the country. All other demands submitted by the TUC to the federal government will be assessed by the Joint Committee. In a related event, the National Industrial Court (NIC) sitting in Abuja yesterday restrained the Nigeria Labour Congress (NLC) and the Trade Union Congress of Nigeria (TUC) from embarking on their planned strike to protest the unilateral removal of fuel subsidy by the federal government. The order came on a day the NLC returned to the negotiation table, having earlier refused to attend the meeting Sunday, insisting that government return the price of petrol to the status quo. This is even as the Trade Union Congress of Nigeria (TUC) made public its demands and presentation to the government, among which were 200,000 naira minimum wage and subsidy on food items. Recall that the TUC had in a meeting with government representatives at the Presidential Villa, Abuja on Sunday, demanded payment of a new minimum wage to mitigate the effects of the subsidy removal, but was silent on the figure. The court, in a ruling delivered by Justice O.Y. Anuwe, barred the two unions from proceeding with the strike, pending the determination of a suit brought before it by the federal government. The court held that the interim order as well as the substantive suit should be immediately served on both the NLC and the TUC, which were cited as defendants and respondents in the suit marked NICN ABJ 1582023, even it fixed the matter for hearing on June 19. The court order followed an ex parte application by the federal government filed through the Federal Ministry of Justice. Federal government lawyer Mrs. Maimuna Lami Shiru, who moved the application, maintained that the proposed strike was capable of disrupting economic activities, the health and education sectors. Federal government further tendered exhibits FGN 1, 2, and 3, which were notices from the NLC, TUC, and the Nigerian Union of Journalists (NUJ) to their members, asking them to withdraw their services with effect from tomorrow, June 7. The court, in its ruling, held that it was empowered by Section 7B of the NIC Act 2006 with the exclusive jurisdiction in matters relating to the grant of any order to restrain any person or body from taking part in any strike, lockout, or industrial action. It held that Sections 16 and 19A of the NIC Act 2006 also empowered it to grant urgent interim reliefs. The court held that the affidavit of urgency as well as the submission of federal government's lawyer revealed a scenario that may gravely affect the larger society and the well-being of the nation at large. Justice Anuwe held, counsel has pointed out that students of secondary schools nationwide, especially those writing WAEC exams, will be affected. The tertiary institutions who have only just resumed after a long ASU strike will also be affected, not leaving the health sector, among other sectors, and above all, the economy of the nation. Subscribe, like, share, comment, and please turn the notification bell on. Thank you. In my view, this is a situation of extreme urgency that will require the intervention of this court. According to the judge, having therefore considered the totality of this application, I make the following orders. The defendants and respondents are hereby restrained from embarking on the planned industrial action or strike of any nature, pending the hearing on determination of the motion on notice dated 5th June 2023. It is ordered that the defendant and respondent be immediately served with the originating processes in this suit, the motion on notice, and the order of this court hereby made. The motion on notice is hereby fixed for hearing on 19th June 2023. Hearing notices to that effect shall be served on the defendants and respondents along with the other processes. That's the news, guys. Thanks for listening. Until next time, bye.